do some, and I wouldn't compare them exactly to Fox News. I wouldn't say they are the, Democratic Party's version of Fox News. I think that they do present things typically a lot more factually than Fox News does, to their credit. But when it comes to these types of, shows where they're just sort of giving their opinion in long form and essentially, just stroking Biden off the idea that his schedule is jam-packed, it's grotesque and it's really divorced from what the, American people and the average, Democrat supporter wants to see in a presidential candidate or the president himself. Dan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I wouldn't usually go this low, but yeah, Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough are technically married, and I think Mika was giving Joe Biden more action than Joe Scarborough's been getting in a while, just based on his face during that entire segment. I'm like, are we good there? Joe's like, hey, Scarborough's like, hey man, let me get on this. Come on, what's all this? Even that little dig at the end, that's like, I know you would be exhausted, which is like hey man, I'm just gonna, but no, like, when you were saying, why are we giving presidents all this credit for talking and going to meetings when, by the way, they're already not doing it, reminded me, and you were mentioning, Bush was like this, Trump was like this, remind me of the Bush phrase, soft bigotry of low expectations. Because yeah, we should have presidents working harder because our people are working even harder than that.
Exactly, yeah, and it does feel really annoying to see these presidents getting brownie points for just being mildly competent and being, oh look, President Biden drove himself somewhere today. He rode his bike and he didn't fall over. Gold star for him. That's all the time we have today. Dan, thank you so much for joining me today. Tell the people where they can follow you, where they can see what you're working on, what you got coming up.
danfromtheenter.net is a new website that has existed all the time, but it's way easier to just say that than to just say all the links I'm working on: Power Report, Audio Face, Good Morning, Bad News, etc. Great to be on with you, Rayvana, and shout out to everyone at TYT. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. That's all for us today. There'll be more Unbossed tomorrow, so until then, have a good night.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's up, Ma? Welcome, you guys. Get my hair straight, you guys. Welcome to the watch list. It's a Thursday here on the program. Thank you for joining me. There's a lot to get to. I'm hoping we're definitely going to get there first of all. There's tons of things as we start off, of course, with our vegetables. But I think there's fun stuff jumping around on the back end. We've got fights amongst congressional leaders and a couple of followers as well. We've got accusations of threatening black men, of course. And at the back end of the show, a story that we've been waiting on, which I think I'm very happy that we waited on. There's a hero up in the upper part of Michigan who has found a way to save his sister's life. Potentially. We're gonna celebrate that kid and everything he did. So of course, since it's a Thursday and we're gonna have a good, fun show, Jackson White joins me to discuss these topics. He's a Rebel HQ contributor. And there he is, Jackson. We need.
There he is. Yes, indeed.
We still in our lab coats. We're working.
Yes, you know what I'm saying. I'm doing all good, man. I'm doing good. The week's going well. I've been having a really good, smooth, productive day. I did even more than I planned on, which is always a good thing. And it's been a fortnight, which means that I'm back here with you. So we ready to go. I think it's going to be a good show.
I thought we was about to pick up the sticks. You said it's been a fortnight. I'm like,
yes, you know what I'm saying? That's exactly what we're gonna do. We pick up the sticks, the lightsabers, or whatever it is that fits into the and fits into the language. You feel me? We're gonna be playing King Arthur in this thing.
Can I ask you a question I've been wondering about in the back of my head every time you're on full screen of Jackson, you guys, please?
Full screen.
I need to see what's behind. What's the drawing the lady face over your shoulder?
The lady face? Oh, a friend of mine named Eric. Oh, I was off there. It's about right there.
It's hard.
Yeah. A friend of mine named Erica Hart made that several years ago. And actually it's like all dots. So it's not like just freehanded. It's just like dots back to back. But yeah, no, it's a very nice piece. One of my favorites for sure.
Your friend is talented and has an immense amount of more patience than I've got.
Yes, definitely, for sure. I'm patient, but not patient at the same time. And I'm definitely not that patient, you know what I mean? I'm kind of like a just bulldoze through and get it done type of guy.
That's why you're on the show. He's a good type of guy, you guys. Let's watch us bull through these stories today, you guys. We're gonna start off at the top. George Santos finds himself, I guess, under a bit of a push to get him out of office, considering he won't resign after all the things he's been going through. Let's go and see what he had to say in response as this thing was going down.
I have not done my job since I've gotten here. I can chew and walk gum at the same time.
I can chew and walk gum at the same time. I can chew and walk gum at the same time.
Apparently, he cannot chew and walk gum at the same time because he can't even get the line out right. George Santos is now under direct duress as far as getting his ass kicked out of Congress. Of course, Democrats are coming after him and many Republicans are trying to save him. But why? Because Republicans had an issue with him as well, only to a point. And once you get to that point, we'll see why. One of those Democrats that's initiated this whole thing, Richie Torres, he's one of two Democrats that went after him. And they filed this ethics complaint against him in January. And now, also by the way, those New York Republicans were part of this as well. But now it's come to a head. Let's see what Torres had to say.
Speaker McCarthy has said that George Santos is entitled to the presumption of innocence. George Santos has since pleaded guilty to theft in Brazil. And so my question to Republicans, are you ready to expel him? There are House Republicans, including in New York, who are sufficiently convinced, who are so sufficiently convinced of George Santos's wrongdoing as to call upon him to resign. And so I have a simple question for those Republicans. If you're willing to call upon George Santos to resign, then you should be willing to call upon your own leadership to expel George Santos.
Seems pretty straightforward. You're calling for him to resign and you have the opportunity to resign him yourself, and we'll see if they get there. One person who's already, I guess, put her money where her mouth is his now former communications director, Nasia Woomer. She said this as she resigned from George Santos's office. With respect to my colleagues, the people of New York, and most importantly myself, I'm honored, she says, to tender my resignation. Said this in that resignation email. Directing her message to Santos directly, she then added, unfortunately, you never took 1 point of professional advice given. I'm really curious of what some of that professional advice was. Maybe she had ideas of how they could rehab his image without saying, I didn't do anything that you guys have discovered that I've done. Oh yeah, I did that 4 or 5 things, but it doesn't really matter anyway. So they're delaying this vote. They're trying to get through the process of this, just I guess to stretch it out for a couple years. for some reason to make sure that he's not ousted. But also, Councilwoman Vicky Palladino. She's one of the folks who vocally was talking about how much she does not want this to happen, despite everything that we know. Let's listen to this Republican.
I did know Anthony, and I will say this, sadly, really, really sadly, because it's breaking my heart that someone is ill as this to get away with this. It's an illness. So I wish him well. I wish us all well, because if there's a special election, I'm going to tell you this right now, the chances of a Republican taking this seat is 0. It's nuclear. It is 0. He fried the seat. I say let him keep his seat for the next 2 years and let the people decide, because if this goes to a special election, we will have Robert Zimmerman, who is as far left as you want to take it. And we will lose a valuable seat, even though he will be stripped of all his committees as he should be.
Palladino says George Santos fried this seat. A Republican, your colleague, fried this seat, destroyed it. But literally, there was no delay. There's no SpongeBob a few minutes later slot going up. It's immediately the next phrase out of her mouth is, therefore, we should keep him here. This Republican said this guy fried the seat with his fraud, his lies. We don't even know this guy's name. What we do know is he should keep this seat.
Getting every other video demonetized. You about to be like me.
Come on, this is crazy. Really fast, because her opponent, Tony Avella, tweeted this out because he pointed out specifically what it is that Palladino is okay with covering up, or at least looking at in broad daylight and moving on from. He tweeted this: 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of stealing public funds, and 2 counts of lying to the House of Representatives. But not enough for his opponent to disavow George Santos. No, because it's still, Jackson, it is about the power. That's all it's about. Nothing else.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, her reasoning is logical and makes sense. It's just not something you want to say out loud. You know what I mean? It's something that you want to try to avoid at all costs. But the bigger issue that I have with this is wondering how in the world George Santos even got in that seat in the first place. Because it makes sense that maybe the voters didn't necessarily know how to follow the yellow brick road down his trail of lies and fraud. But the fact that, again, he was able to get into that seat at all, and he lied about everything, where he went to school, how he grew up, who his parents and grandparents were, what types of companies he's been involved in, how he makes investments, where he sends his money, all of that just being completely lied about. The fact that he got into the House of Representatives in such a pristine, powerful nation is actually quite laughable and ridiculous. So I think we need to take a look at what's going on there. But also, the Republican Party is just really politically in a bad position for the future, given all the policy nonsense that they have going on. They can't condemn Donald Trump, and they can't even condemn George Santos. Not really. He should leave, but let's hold our horses, because we don't want a Democrat in there. So, I mean, whatever credibility the GOP had left, it's quickly seeping away from them, but their voters don't care.
There was one last thought, because something else that Palladino said there. She goes, we have to let the people decide, as far as if we go ahead and oust his ass and then let someone else potentially have that seat. She says, no special election though. This is just my primary thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have no idea how the system works. I would think that the people would vote in a special election. Is a special election mean that somebody appoints someone? Maybe I'm missing the way this thing works. If there's a special election, Jackson, don't people vote in special elections? She says we have to let the people decide. You mean her problem is we would let people decide fresh off of him being kicked out over these fraudulent things he's done, multiple counts of all these things that he's done and broken some laws. We'd let people decide off of the facts. She wants to wait until people forget. Then we decide after they lie to you for 2 years about what is it happened. That's what she's actually saying, but she has to cover it up in some form or fashion. Let's go ahead and jump in. Yeah, and it's hopefully it ain't working yet, because I saw it. I'm curious if you guys did too. Let's jump to this next story though, you guys, okay? Because Marjorie Taylor Greene got into it, not inside the halls of Congress this time. She's out there in the streets. Let's go.
you talking about?
Yeah, migrant children are missing.
No, we don't know the news. I don't know. That's Fox News. That's Fox News. Listen, I need you to save the party.
Pay attention.
Save the party.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and Jamaal Bowman got into it in front of press and whoever else may be walking by. What they're yelling about, we're gonna find out a little bit more. But here's another angle of that was just a piece of this argument. Here's another angle. Watch.
Expel him because it's save the party. The party's hanging by a thread.
We gotta get rid of Biden to save the country.
The party's hanging by a thread. You gotta save the party. Listen, no more QAnon. No more MAGA.
No more CNN.
No more debt ceiling nonsense. Come on now. Save the party.
We gotta save
America.
the country.
Save the children.
Save the country.
Do something about guns.
Right, so close the border.
Invest in
close
education.
the border. Save the children.
The border is what Trump left.
Hey, where are all the kids? Where are all the migrant children?
Kids?
You guys have
We're
lost
accepting them. We love
no,
them.
You've lost them.
We love the migrant children.
Tens of thousands
We lost
missing.
them.
You can't find them.
What
That's your
about?
administration.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, migrant children are missing. You don't know the news.
No, we don't know the news.
Oh, you were sadly listening before. Hey, let me tell you something, Jamaal.
I need you to save
Not very
the party.
smart. You should pay attention. She ain't worth it, bro.
Save the party.
She ain't worth it, bro. She ain't worth it. She ain't worth it.
Quick cameo from AOC. They're pulling Jamaal Bowman away. She ain't worth it, bro. She's not worth it. And I think she would know, considering AOC has stalked her for some time now, even before she was in office. But this conversation, the reasons why this went down is because this took place after House Republicans defeated an attempt by Democrats to expel the previously mentioned George Santos from Congress. This being in response to his indictment last week on 13 counts, in case you guys forgot, 13, including fraud. While Republicans defeated the attempt 221 to 204, several Republican members of Congress have called on him to resign, not to get him out, because that's a line a bit too far for them. They're just gonna ask him, pretty please, hey, criminal, who's we don't really know who you are. Will you get honest for a second and resign over all the things that we have discovered? No, they know he won't. That's why they're only asking for that. Manu Raju pointed this out. He said on the steps, Santos told reporters that he would accept what the ethics committee recommends. I'm confident that I will fight to clear my name. And he was sounding as he was defending himself, though. Bowman and AOC began to heckle him, is the way Manu Raju pointed out. And Santos shouted back and said to AOC, how's your ethics play going? So there's the battle out in front of everyone now. Actually, let's look at Bowman and AOC giving him the business.
Continue to address you guys because there's a deranged member here, so I'm gonna watch.
That's all that went down, and then afterwards, apparently, Bowman hung around for a little bit more, extracurricular arguments. What's your thoughts here, Jackson? Oh,
I'm doing it right now, right? I'm doing it. You look at me.
You and Burbank did that this week. I'm feeling better.
Oh, well, look at that. You know what I'm saying? It's because of you, and my cursing is rubbing off on you. But I mean, look, what I was gonna say is, MTG, love her or hate her. One, she is legitimately nuts, and two, she ain't scared. You know what I'm saying? Like she really isn't. Like she's one of those people, despite the fact that she's nuts and pretty much everything she says and never pushes is just, coming out of left field. She'll go toe to toe with you. So it makes for great content, which actually is why she's popular and why she plays a strong part within the GOP party. But that's one of the things I like about Jamaal Bowman too, because every other time you see him in the news, he's, speaking his mind and he's speaking it more or less for the people and he's going toe to toe. And we need that type of energy. You know what I'm saying? We need people who aren't afraid to go toe to toe, whether it be in a shouting match or actually when it comes to passing policy. But, you can't fight the forces if you don't actually throw punches. So I just thought it was funny. But every time I see MTG, I'll be like, yo, she crazy for real. Like she really doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? She one of those people.
When you're fueled, I guess, by hate, you have a big tank. You can run for a long time on it. MAGA has definitely proven that to us. Because apparently in 2020, he still hasn't lost. That guy is still on that trip. I'm glad you brought up the way Bowman approached these things, because I like it too. And there was another time he was in the middle of, he was in the halls, at least in the general area, I believe in Congress. And he was talking to cameras and one of the congressmen walked by him and decided to get into it with him as well. he'll carry on, he will engage. And that's the thing. I think it attracts folks to really think about some of these representatives to see if they're actually representing us. Because if you just see them kind of only talking 4.5, 5 hour long sessions that nobody watches unless they are like, they watch C-SPAN like ESPN, they're not gonna see it. Or unless they pop up on Morning Joe or on Fox News and start saying things. So I like that he engages because it will cause people to see what's going on. They can be in small 30-second to minute-long snippets like we saw here, and people will begin to understand, there's some Democrats who are actually fighting and not just being tight-lipped and hoping that things work out the way that maybe it will, out of fear. He's showing them something different here. I just want him to maybe cut off another minute sooner. I feel like that discussion went a little too long because, again, who wants to keep propping up margin?
Well, this is a situation where a little more is better than a little too little. You know what I'm saying? How the hell you say that? I just butchered that. I tried to give like a good old wise saying, it didn't come out correctly.
A little
too
more
much is better than too little sometimes.
Or not enough. One of them.
Yeah, too much or not enough. There you go.
We'll work on it. We'll work on this break, you guys. Let's take this first break though. A little bit early. I want to get a few more extra of y'all's comments. I feel like I kind of run through those real fast. I'm curious what you guys think of these first couple, but we're not done with Marge. It's not necessarily about the arguing that she got into, but about her response afterwards. Now, you guys already saw what happened between her and Jamaal Bowman. She had a response and she described it completely differently. And if you didn't see the original tape, there's certain folks who would believe her, but we've got all of that. We're gonna do that. We've got a lot more after. Let me see what's happening after Marge. What else? Oh, and we've got more shoving. There's protesters outside of another outdoor public press conference. And one of these people who was asking questions got shoved out by no one that has anything to do with any kind of law enforcement, but he did anyway. Let's do all that when we get back, you guys.
All right, well, the Young Turks special election day coverage dropping.
An amazing power panel.
Look at this panel. You want to talk about power?
It's like a smart Destiny's Child.
We're all too strong. We spun a revolution. Yes, another one. Aren't you excited? Wow. And then Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, everybody. Yay!
You know, this is where it started in a lot of ways.
Why is he lying? Because these are acts that you can commit with impunity.
Most of us are usually in boxer shorts underneath.
I went with the pants today.
This is the first ever power panel with Donald Trump as president.
We have elected the top Twitter troll in the country.
We have to stop pretending that race is not an issue in this country.
Now keep in mind, racism had gone away until Barack Obama brought it back.
That's right.
They want to protect life so much that they want to ensure that insurance companies don't cover your maternity care. You don't see a lot of news coverage in the mainstream media of the peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that happened throughout the country.
Black Americans are hurting. Minorities in this country are hurting.
We always talk about starting from the bottom up, but the problem is the bottom up is always the least amount of power. No one cares about them, and until someone actually cares about them, then we'll do something about it.
Please, for God's sake, America, understand, acknowledge, and work towards getting to a new reality where Black lives actually matter.
Watch this, you guys. What's up? Oh, look, I may have an extra minute or two to talk to you guys. Mo Fury of TYT members says, I love how a special election is not letting the people decide. 100%. I was mentioning that when we were doing that story with, I think, Palladino is that representative who was talking about, let's make sure we get to the other election, not the election where the people decide. So many illustrations of this party. Minsack GP, who knows? I'm sorry for screwing up y'all's names here. Republicans will not expel Santos. They cannot afford to lose any votes. 100%. I mean, I think Kevin McCarthy was saying that or suggesting that months ago. When even talking about committee hearings and all this stuff. It's like, well, I'll wait until something actually comes up. Something has come up, Kevin. What is he doing about it? Nothing. More, English teacher, 1984, grammar dragon. I like this one. New computer. Jayar, you look so handsome with the clearer picture. Well, thank you. I mean, congratulations, new computer. I like that. It's always clean. Twitch, you guys, love you on Twitch. Fight for the cause, says Jayar Jackson White. I'm not sure if Jackson's on board for that, but the Jackson and Jackson moniker definitely works.
The Jackson and Jackson definitely works, but there's a whole lot of options, so we'll just have to throw out testers, you know what I mean?
As long as you guys are here, that's what I worry about. Paper Dragon says, Jayar, I like your hat, man. I haven't worn this one in some time. I didn't really know what to pair it with, but the Acme Packers, this goes back to the origins. You need like a cheese, what are those called? Cheese wheels on the top? We need some logos.
Yeah.
YouTube, you guys, Michael Norrish, thank you for the super chat, says, Jackson, I gotta ask. A while ago, you said you were holding back your accident. I'm really curious, being an Aussie, what a full-on Missouri, accent. It was accident. Accident was the typo, I believe, but then mention your Missouri accent. Are you?
I mean, you could probably hear it, but like I would probably have to get ratchet and start cursing a whole lot for me to really let back, which will demonetize this entire episode and probably put me in some type of jeopardy. So
who curses on the air, bro? Calm down. Nobody.
I do. Not on this. I do a good job not doing it, but I mean, I don't know. Like we say our ER is different. Like we don't say here or there. It'd be here, there, care, Aaron. We don't say Aaron. It'd be Aaron. We don't say iron. We'd be like iron. And just a variety of other things. Be like, he ain't got to do that. He ain't got to do that. He doesn't have to do that. He ain't got to do that. She ain't got to do that. He ain't got to do that. Like, I don't know. But then I'll just be talking too much. So I'm gonna have to do a full episode on my channel, Politics and Paper, which you should follow on YouTube if you haven't. And you'll definitely hear my full accent there because there's no holds barred. So yeah.
I mean, I gotta check that out a little closer. Maybe I can go out there and cuss every once in a while myself. These last couple ones, you guys. Luke H. Cyborg Dragon says, yay, Jackson, twice in a day. Man, you're all over the place.
Oh, yes. My man, Luke. Oh, yeah, he be showing love. Hell yeah.
Luke makes the rounds. Mrs. Jones says, J and J are my favorite team. Hey, Miss Jones, what's up? Corporations 8, my baby. Wow, 8 being the number 8. Jackson and Jackson also. And one more, you guys. Prince of Judah 79. JR on 2K, a must watch.
Well, like you a player, like a 2K player or something?
That's what I'm wondering too. I do create 2K players and whoop everybody's ass in NBA 2K. I'm just saying, you might not want to deal with me. Let's go ahead and jump on to these stories, you guys. Marjorie Taylor Greene got in that disagreement with Jamaal Bowman that we were just talking about, but then she had more to say once she got in front of a podium. Let's watch.
I had to have so much security. There was not enough. I was swarmed. It's all on video. Everyone can see this. But I will tell you what's on video is Jamaal Bowman shouting at the top of his lungs, cursing, calling me a calling me a white supremacist, which I take great offense to. That is like calling a person of color the N-word, which should never happen. Calling me a white supremacist is equal to that, and that is wrong. Jamaal Bowman was down there cursing at me, telling me to get the F out of there. And he was leading the mob right outside the vehicle I was sitting in. We have this all on video. And then on the Capitol steps yesterday, he was the one that approached me. Even CNN reported that. Yelling, shouting, raising his voice. He has aggressive, his physical mannerisms are aggressive.
Well, I think all black folks have heard these types of stories before. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about her loud argument with Jamaal Bowman outside of the Capitol or outside of Congress. Now, she described this other scene of him cursing her out, saying, get the F out of here. Very loud, threatening big black man who was yelling at her, telling her to get out of here. In fact, he almost threatened to come and hurt me. He said he was gonna take me, throw me in the back of the truck and take off. There's the story keeps expanding, and apparently she has tapes. We'll wait for that before we have the final determination. But until then, it's just her word. But then there was the second aspect where she talked about, and maybe we can get an indication whether or not the first story that she was telling is accurate, because she said the second part where he's outside in front of everyone and they're actually having the argument that we just talked about a few minutes ago. She was being threatening and yelling at the top of his lungs and lunging towards me, whatever it is she was saying. This is that interaction she was talking about. Think about her description versus what you see.
Expel him. We gotta save the party. The party's hanging by a thread.
We gotta get rid of Biden.
The party's hanging by a thread. We gotta save the party. Listen, no more QAnon. No more MAGA.
No more CNN.
No more debt ceiling nonsense. Come on now. Save the party.
No, we gotta
save
the
America.
country.
Save the children.
Save the
Do
country.
something about guns.
Right, so close the border.
Invest in
close
education.
the border. Save the children.
What about
the children? Hey, where are all the kids? Where are all the migrant children? You guys have
We're
lost
accepting them. We love
no,
them.
You've lost them.
We love the migrant
There's
children.
Tens of
What do you
thousands
mean lost
missing.
them?
You can't find them.
What are you
That's
talking
your
about?
administration.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, migrant children are missing. You don't know the news.
No, we don't know the news.
Oh, you were sadly missing before. Hey, let me tell you something, Jamal. Not very smart. You should pay attention. She ain't worth it, bro.
Save the party.
She ain't worth it, bro. She ain't worth it. She ain't worth it.
So apparently it was threatening, it was loud, it was violent, and he came at her screaming, is what was happening. I saw two people giving the same energy. I saw a lot of laughter, even though it was actually anger, but it was laughter as they went back and forth. But apparently in her world, which she's apparently used this before, she can say that black man ran up on me and he was so scary, somebody do something about it. That's the approach. But also off the top, he apparently called her white supremacist. This is her story of the video that I guess we'll see soon that she's gonna release, because she says he has it on video. He called her a white supremacist. And if he did, I would go, yes, you're correct, Jamal. But if he did, it's the same as calling a black person the N-word. Someone who showed up at a white supremacist's conference being called a white supremacist is the same as calling a random black person that you walk by on the streets the N-word, a word that was used throughout our history, if she would like to learn it, that was used to weaponize hate, anger, violence, and murder towards black folks. But that's the same as calling one of those folks that did it who they are. Here she is at that conference that she apparently forgot about.
She is a standard bearer of Trumpism in the US Congress. She is pro-life, she is proudly America first. And I wanna say a very special thank you to Milo Yiannopoulos for making this happen. He made this happen, he put it together. To welcome to the stage right now for our first speech, and we love to get to know her much better. I think this is going to be the beginning of something great. The representative from Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Jackson, she also said that anyone who calls people the N-word, it's a horrible thing and no one should ever do it. That guy that introduced you to thunderous applause and how wonderful you are, he does it regularly.
Yeah, he's one of the loudest, proudest white supremacists in the country, at least, who's media facing. What did he got his passport blocked, or he couldn't no fly or something like that. He couldn't get on a plane. But the way he introduced her, he was so enthusiastic and so happy, and he was really looking forward to that day. But there's no questioning exactly who Nick Fuentes is. Anybody who's had their attention in politics for a little bit knows who he is. But yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you can look at that clip. You can tell she wasn't afraid at all. Because like I said, she crazy. So like, I don't really think she's a woman. She's not afraid of confrontation. She isn't. Like she revels in confrontation, and she a little crazy. So I really don't think she's scared like that. But she's just ginning up the people who want to hear that, who watching her on Fox News, because she's entertaining and she's saying what they want to hear. So she's doing her job.
It's the only thing. Look, I've said it so many times. You keep seeing these Congress people starting their own podcasts instead of working in Congress. And just to cross it really fast, just give you this reference point. Draymond Green in the NBA does a podcast as well, and he goes on and talks whenever he wants to during the season, during the playoffs, after game, 2 days after game, whenever. And people give him so much trouble for it. And fine, you can criticize him for maybe focusing on his podcast rather than the NBA. We've got Congress people and senators, elected officials starting a podcast so they can promote themselves based off of whatever lie they want to tell their followers instead of working. So I know there's the outrage towards a basketball player doing it, but at least that's just basketball. This is about people that represent the constituents of this country. And for some reason, that's okay. That's the reason why she came with this hyperbolic statements and these, let's keep it real, looking like lies about this interaction that happened. Let's go ahead and go to this next story, though, you guys. I'm done with her. Because there was more press conferences and more physical violence. Let's go.
No, you're out. You're out. You're out. You're out. You're out. Aren't you a congressperson touching me? Get off me.
Someone video this. Get this on video.
Get off me.
Get this on video. This is assault.
Get off me.
This is
what are you trying to do, Clay Higgins? You're a U.S. congressman touching a person. You can't put him off the street. Let
go of him.
Let him know.
You hear that guy getting shoved out? Talking about, you're a congressman. That congressman's name is Clay Higgins. He represents folks in Louisiana. And there he is shoving someone asking questions to other Republicans out of the entire event there in DC. His name is Jake Burdett, that guy in the blue shirt. And as he was pointing out, I'm asking some questions. Who are you and why you shoved me out of here? Just this one guy. I have a feeling other folks that didn't agree with these Congress folks that were outside probably just got to hang out on their own. But what did Burdett do that was such a problem? Let's watch.
Representative Gosar, can you talk about when you did that rally with the neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes? Can you talk about when your family did an ad all endorsing your opponent? Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Hey, please don't touch me. Please don't touch me. Please don't touch me.
Make you deal. I'm a congressman. I'll make you
Can you tell this guy? Can you tell this guy?
Talk, and then I'll come talk to you privately.
Can you tell this guy? But you can't ask. You can't answer the questions that he has.
No, I can answer the questions. Bro.
Okay.
Listen, I respect you first. I'm Clay Higgins. I represent South Louisiana.
Clay Higgins.
All I'm asking you to do is just peacefully stand by with your camera, and I promise you, look at me. I'll come talk to you straight up. I'll answer all your questions. Fair enough?
Do you know about his family and his endorsement?
Yeah, I'll answer that when we talk.
Okay.
I get the feeling he's not gonna be able to answer things about Paul Gosar's family. I think it all took, first off, they lined up, of course, blocked him off. It reached a boiling point once Lauren Boebert walked up there, and Burdett still had questions for her too. This is the problem. Watch more.
Representative Boebert, can you talk about your divorce? Did it have anything to do with giving food poisoning to Shooter's Bar and Grill? Just a question about your divorce, please. Can you please stop touching me, sir? What is your name? What is your name, sir? Stop. What's your name, sir? Get off me. Get off me.
You're on me, sir. Come on.
You're on me. You're on me. You're touching me.
Look, you're on the wrong side of the back.
Representative Boebert, can we hear about your divorce?
You're out. You're out. You're out. You're out.
Aren't you a congressperson touching me?
Yes,
Get off
sir.
me. You're hurting me.
Sir,
You're hurting me.
So that's his point of view, as we saw from off the top of him shoving him away. And if you're wondering, where the hell are the police? Once they show up, we see which sides that they do take, which I'm sure, hopefully, Burdett was expecting, as he was kind of detained for about a half an hour. Here's that.
Are you okay?
I'm okay, but thank you for getting him off me, officer.
Hold on 1 second. Stay right here for me, all right? I'm trying to figure out what's going on, all right? So, what exactly happened?
He came up. He had his hands on me. I think there's a lot of witnesses you could ask.
Attack a member of Congress.
I was not trying to attack a member of Congress.
He was attacked. All right, calm down.
I've never seen anything like that.
Just calm down for us. Sir, just come over here for me. I just want to get your side of the story.
I've told you my side of the story.
Yes, he was involved. Okay, you need to come over here with us, okay? We're going to talk to you over here.
So one of those Republicans, I believe, chimed in and said he was attacking a congressman, which then you heard actual witnesses say he was attacked by the congressman. So, of course, police held him there for a while. Also, Burdett tweeted out what it is that happened to him, along with a few videos, and he was talking about how he was detained for that nearly 30 minutes as well from that tweet. Jackson, we've got, maybe there's reasons why I don't get into these types of things, is it wouldn't have come out well. I can't have someone shove me around when they have no right to. I don't care who you are, but they still think there's this hierarchy in society. I'm a congressman, I can do what I want, and then say it was you. Sounds like police behavior.
Well, I mean, there's many other, someone else could have done it, plain and simple. Like if someone had to be removed, then you could have had a security guard do it so that at least you wouldn't be the person who is on camera forcibly removing somebody. And at the end of the day, if you're a public figure, well, I mean, not even a public figure, an elected official, this is the type of stuff that you deal with. You deal with journalists who question you either because you want them to or because you don't want them to. So there should be other types of contingency plans just in case for stuff like this. We see a lot of different types of videos of people who, you may be able to say, oh, he's harassing them, but is he really? I mean, how else is he going to get his question answered? And again, just to have a better brand facing forward, you could be like, okay, I'll answer your questions, but obviously there's questions that you don't want to answer from people, even if they're just yelling them out at you. So basically, no matter which angle you take, it was an inappropriate action for the congressman to put his hands on somebody. And like you pointed out, it's just not a good idea to put your hands on people because you don't know what they're gonna do. And if you're gonna put your hands on somebody, then are you prepared to escalate things further if they do? Because oftentimes people will put their hands on you or someone, and then when they push them back, they're like, okay, I didn't think you were gonna do all that now. You know what I mean? So it was just a very avoidable situation that speaks a lot about the power structures in this country. But all he had to do, again, if he had to remove the guy, just have a security guard do it, because then people wouldn't be pointing at you at least, but he couldn't even do that.
No, he had to take things in his own hands. There's a reason why. Clay Higgins, as was pointed out, is a former police officer. Remember I pointed that out? Oh, yeah. It sounds like police behavior. As a matter of fact, here's some details to his police work. I saw this this was also tweeted out, but I saw the full article, so we can keep this up, but I'm gonna read what I saw. Apparently he was previously selling cars for a living, but he was working as a police officer in 2004. It ended less than 3 years later after he used excessive force on a man named Andre Richard, who had pulled up near a residence where police were serving a search warrant. And without any justification, Higgins, that same representative now, struck Richard, grabbed him by the neck, and may have kicked him as he lay handcuffed face down. Higgins, as they discovered later, lied about it to his superiors and falsely accused Richards of battery. There's a lot of parallels here. Lastly, he quit the force soon after, as the department was about to impose a hefty discipline on him for his misconduct. So he quit and decided to run for office instead. He goes, I can get away with anything I want if I'm in office. As a police officer, I can get away with 99% of things. I need that last percent.
Right, I need that last one.
And apparently it's working out for him. We'll see if things go further because apparently Burdett here is looking for legal representation to see what he can do about these potentially pressing charges. Sadly, I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. Hopefully though, because look, he shoved him around outside of that whole event. Crazed Congress people, of course, on the Republican side, continue. Here's one, John Kennedy, and he's got some things to say on Fox News, but didn't expect any kind of pushback. Just watch.
Our economy is $23 trillion. Mexico's economy is $1.3 trillion. Ours is 18 times bigger. We buy $400 billion every year from Mexico. Without the people of America, Mexico, figuratively speaking, would be eating cat food out of a can and living in a tent behind an outback.
Because that's what an entire country would be. There's no exchange here. There's Senator John Kennedy talking about Mexico. Apparently they're like cats, and unless we feed them as Americans, they're just feral creatures that hang out and annoy us. So Republicans think of human beings that aren't like them. Crazy. He got some scrutiny for this, of course, but then rather than actually having any kind of self-reflection, he went on Fox News and thought he'd get away with it and talk about how crazy everyone else is. Not down in Louisiana. Here he is getting pushed back from Neil Kidnapper.
You know, Senator, you mentioned the loon wings in each party. As you know, Democrats have been coming out and pouncing on your remarks regarding Mexico, in which you said, without us, the Mexicans would be eating cat food out of a can and living in a tent behind an outback. You also suggested the U.S. invade Mexico to subdue the drug cartels.
Well, I love the people of Mexico. I hate the cartels. And President Lopez Obrador, who is the president of Mexico, he ran on a slogan with respect to the cartels of hugs, not bullets. Well, that's not working out too well for him.
I think what they were referring to, what you said about the Mexicans in general without us, that they'd be eating cat food out of a can in a tent by now. I know you have colorful language, Senator, but you think that got too colorful.
He doesn't have to answer the question. He knows he doesn't have to answer the question. He's just gonna talk about, I love the Mexican people until I call them animals.
Right, he always rounds everything off super hard.
Talk about an accent. I don't know if that's real either. Maybe he's playing that up too for the hokey nature of how he is. He's just this good old boy. By the way, the Mexican ambassador responded to these comments, and he's asking for an apology. Really fast, the Mexican ambassador to the US this week slammed John Kennedy for using, quote, vulgar and racist language after he said all that stuff that we just heard him say. He said, I don't think the people of Louisiana feel represented by the vulgar and racist word that you used, is what Esteban Montezuma wrote. He said, you're obliged to offer an apology to your citizens because what you asserted is not worthy of the state of Louisiana, known for being a cultural melting pot. Yeah, he pointed that out. And one other part, Jackson, I want your thoughts here, but he pointed out how the approach of hugs, not bullets, doesn't work against cartel members, drug cartels that are quite brutal. You know what else doesn't work? By the way, I agree. Sure. Hugs, not bullets doesn't really work. That war on drugs hasn't worked yet either. In fact, it's exacerbated the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
What I said was that we should use, what I proposed to the head of DEA was that she and the president call the president of Mexico and ask if the American military and the American law enforcement can come into Mexico under the supervision of the American military, of the Mexican military.
He interrupted there. He interrupted me. You know what I'm saying? He come on. He called. He say Mexican people are like feral felines with rabies. So like flea infested felines. But then he also called George Santos a bunny boiler. He's always saying all types of goofy stuff. But I mean, hey, he's an old white Republican male. So, and he's in office and he's from the South. So this kind of fits just right. But, you know, there's absolutely no attention paid to real solutions. As you pointed out, the drug war, which greatly exacerbates the problems of the cartels even having a source of funding whatsoever. They've been getting most of their money from the United States. Yeah, they ship drugs all over the world. But at the end of the day, we practically fund all of their operations. So if you really want to do something about cartels, we have to look at the drug war first and foremost. And we're going to have to give aid to a lot of those countries in a variety of ways as well, which they absolutely don't want to do. So I think that he just got to run in his mouth a little bit too much. And like you said, he really doesn't have to answer for this. There's no good answer for it. Yeah. But, you know, again, his cover is that he's an old white Republican. So, you know, it just kind of comes with the territory.
And the cover's barely there anymore. All they really have, they're just saying blatant things, straightforward, and it gives them some more support. That's really what it is. They've flipped it upside down where they used to have to try and hide it and give the wink. You know what I'm saying? Instead, they just say it and go, anytime someone complains about it, can you believe the woke mob is telling me that I'm racist just because I said something racist? Fine, whatever. Let's jump to this next story, you guys. The vegetables have been consumed. Let's have a little bit of fun, just a slight bit of fun, because people are upset for some reason. First, what's going on with the SI swimsuit edition? It's wild. Let's watch.
Introducing this year's Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover model, Martha Stewart.
Wait, what?
Seeing it for the very first time. Martha, what do you think?
I like that picture.
Yes.
I would think so.
Martha enjoys that picture so much so that she tweeted this out because she's now one of, I think, 3 to 4 cover models for the SI swimsuit. There's that same image, and she said, thrilled to be on the cover. Hope this cover inspires you to challenge yourself to try new things. Pick it up on newsstands. What a horrible thing to say. I hope it inspires you. How dare you? That's what's happening, but I'm gonna wait before I tell you why. Really fast, because she's making history. I didn't even know this aspect of it. She's making history as she becomes the oldest person to grace the cover of SI's yearly swimsuit issue. She's 81 years old. She's one of these 4 of this 2023 Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover stars. The other folks are younger. The SI described her as the very definition of an influencer because of how long she's been around, products and TV shows and things that she puts her name behind. In fact, there was more images. So cover your eyes, I guess, because it's an 81-year-old in a swimsuit. There's multiple pictures, 5 more there, of course, because it was a full-on shoot, and she's tweeting all this stuff out. It's wonderful, right? Body positivity, be who you are. Looks great for 81. I'm not sure what the problem may be. Here's one problem. Martha Stewart reacts to naysayers, as they calling out her Sports Illustrated cover as over-retouched. Okay, maybe that's one potential criticism, because they do that to maybe someone who's even 21, let alone 81. She wants to point that out. Good, okay, we can get by that. But then Michael Knowles of the Daily Wire jumps in with something absolutely ridiculous. Let's go.
So Sports Illustrated, in order to stay relevant, to stay in the news, it has to create controversy. And one way to create controversy is to pretend that dudes are chicks, which is obviously completely disgusting, but at least gets them in the news. And then a better way for them to create controversy is to put an 81-year-old woman on the cover. So, okay, mission accomplished, they did that. But why is it wrong? Why is it wrong that even this very good-looking woman at 81 years old is on the cover? I go back to a line from St. Gregory the Great, which has been popularized in recent years by St. Josemaria Escriva, which is that it is not good to look at what it is not licit to desire. And I'm not going to use this line in its precision. I just mean it as a way to sort of get at why people feel like it's a little bit wrong to have an 81-year-old woman wearing a swimsuit on the cover of this magazine. We think it's wrong because we know it's not, we should not be sexually desiring an 81-year-old woman. Even an 81-year-old woman who's a beloved cultural figure, who looks very, very good, especially for her age, is just, that's not right.
81-year-old women should be isolated, especially if someone looks at them. And then if you look at them, you go, oh, she looks good. Disgusting. These are the same groups of people who like to popularize or at least promote the idea of looking at 12-year-old girls, maybe marrying them off. But a problem with an 81-year-old woman, that's just too far gone. She's actually an adult. Oh, that's a problem. She's nowhere near 12 years old. So apparently that's disgusting. How about an 81-year-old man? How about a 71-year-old man? Damn it, how about a 51-year-old man? They can't look at an 81-year-old woman because it's illicit. It's the oddest thing. It's a problem. I brought up the children, but they also like to sexually desire these other things, like this. Watch.
Yeah, he is. He's fantastic. This guy right here is great. Standing up in there in the mucky swamp. Diane always has him in the mucky swamp. Yeah. But it's amazing.
I've never seen a person grope a cardboard cutout, but she did it in front of everyone. And apparently it's not illicit. By the way, Donald Trump is 76 years old, just 5 years away from the 81. But it's illicit to go after and look at a swimsuit. Just saying. What's your thoughts, Jackson?
Well, I mean, it's always interesting, like guys who clearly aren't highly desired by women and just at all, like, let's just keep it there and not go deeper, always are the most offended by anything that really isn't sexual at all, just because it involves the opposite sex. And what I mean is, just because Martha Stewart's in a swimsuit on the cover of Sports Illustrated doesn't mean it's inherently sexual. She's just an older woman who's very successful, who everybody knows who she is, and she looks good for an 81-year-old. Like, there is such a thing as just being like, oh, they look good for how old they are. And it really doesn't need to be any deeper than that, and it doesn't need to be sexual. But you know, guys like this. So, and lest we not forget, Michael Knowles was always railing against the queer community. He starred as some gay dude in a film when he was in school. He's just an actor. He's just trying to be famous, and he's a huge dork. And you know, and that's important because again, like guys like this, they like the idea that a man and a woman can do anything where sex isn't involved just doesn't exist to them. And it's like the idea of sex makes them uncomfortable because there's some kind of inadequate with it. Like the idea of sex makes them uncomfortable. And it's really just like watching a little boy, you know what I mean? Because again, it's like, this is something that you didn't have to pay attention to at all. You didn't have to comment on, but we shouldn't be sexually attracted. Who said anything about that? You said something about that. Anybody else say that?
Some of the way they go after, again, as you said, he rails at the LGBTQ plus community, but they always see sex when someone's just walking down the street. How dare you turn me on, trans?
Right, exactly. I can't handle it. I can't conceal myself, you know?
Keep that in your house because now I have a problem. I have to make sure that I sit down. Let's go ahead and jump this last story. My favorite of the day. We have a hero in Michigan, and he's only 13, some say 14 years old. He's in that age range. Let's watch.
They were in a state of panic and screaming, and she was crying, and the only word I could make out of the whole conversation was kidnap.
Michigan State Police locating the suspect at a nearby gas station. The young boy's actions critical in IDing him.
What he did helped us to identify who the suspect was because obviously he had injuries from getting hit with a slingshot. To see that and to pop into action that quickly is extraordinary, and he should be commended for it.
If it does happen again, I'll do it again.
My man said, I will do that again. Yes, this 13-year-old kid apparently saved his sister from a kidnapping by using his slingshot. And at the back end of that little news piece there, he's talking about how he's gonna do it again. And he sounds a lot like this one character from this one old movie.
A fair sentence.
Objection,
Do you think
Your
they
Honor.
deserve to die, Mr.
Your
Haley?
Honor.
Answer the question.
Carly,
Do
don't
they
answer
deserve
that
to
question.
die?
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
I like the energy, kid. I like the energy. It works out for me. That wasn't all he had to say, though. That was just probably the best part. He did describe how this whole thing went down. Let's let him do it.
This is what 13-year-old Owen Burns used to scare off a would-be kidnapper. Owen says he doesn't actually use his slingshot much, but when it counted, he hit his target. Police say last week someone came out of the woods near Owen's house in northern Michigan and attempted to take his 8-year-old sister. Owen heard his sister's screams from his bedroom and looked out.
Her mouth was closed and he was hugging her on his chest. My sister kicked him and he starts running after her.
From his bedroom window, he flung a rock and then a marble directly at the 17-year-old suspect, hitting him in the head and chest.
So I grabbed the rock, right? I put it right here, and I grabbed it, and then he was mad. He started cussing. I hit him again. He starts running away.
He can start cussing. He can start getting mad, but I hit his ass again. Go ahead on. Hit him twice, ran off. And also the best part, Jackson, is the police also helped identify the suspect from the knots upside his head from them rocks that he shot at him. He said he's even gonna reach for his G.I. Joes or something and hit him with something else next. Hero up in Michigan. You know what? Once I saw it, sometimes I get inspired, Jackson. I get inspired by the kid. Let's look at an image of him showing off his slingshot one more time because my man apparently is good with his weapon. Non-lethal weapon, but definitely got the job done. So I thought, I wonder if I can do that. So I did.
But if you got a third one.
I like extracurricular activities. No, the hole in that, or the dent in that thick board, imagine it upside your forehead, Jackson. It'll be a problem. You might be cussing and running away too.
Oh, for sure. No, yeah, they got you playing Bob Marley, Clint Eastwood right there. You know what I'm saying? But no, man, slingshots will do some damage. I used to play with them when I was a kid, just, you know, shooting all type rocks at whatever, you know, trees and trying to hit squirrels or whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? Those things will do some damage, but yeah, no, he definitely understands that everybody is just a man, and if you hit them, they probably gonna go down if you do it in just the right place. So, you know, this kid inspires me too. I'm gonna have to give me a slingshot and set up a range as well. But he about that action. You know what I'm saying?
You got experience though. I mean, I didn't know. I would never have guessed. I mean, first you got the Missouri accent, but maybe that does go with some slingshot.
Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got the slingshot ready. I got everything ready to go. But no, this dude definitely, that's what a way to build up some confidence early in life rather.
Maybe he'll stick with the non-lethal weapons, I hope. Yeah, hopefully. That's how this whole thing works. He got it done. By the way, the suspect was 17 years old, you guys heard there. And he's charged with, as an adult, by the way, and faces charges of attempted kidnapping, assault, and battery. Good. It's always amazing me when there's a 17-year-old that does things like this. Just doesn't enter your imagination. Thank you guys for joining me on the show. Thank you, Jackson, for being here as well.
Yes.
By the way, the slingshot is still ready.
You still got it.
Listen straight up. I'm a surgeon with this damn thing, bro. I'm gonna figure it out because I just bought it today, but they say after 50 attempts or 50 stretches, then it's really ready to go. So ain't
that from Jackie Brown? I'm a surgeon with this. Is that from Jackie Brown or is that from Pulp Fiction?
Wasn't it Pulp Fiction? I think it was.
I think it's Jackie Brown. I'm a surgeon with this. We got
we'll take a poll. I'm sure the audience will let us know. He's Jackie Brown because I've never seen Jackie Brown in full. That's the reason why I don't think so, because I would have remembered. I thought
I'm pretty sure it's Jackie Brown because he has like a shotgun or something. He said, "I'm a surgeon with it," but
I love the line.
We'll see.
I'm a surgeon with this. Thank you guys also for joining me as well for Jackson and Jackson Thursday. Up next, you have the Young Turks, Anna Kasperi and Jake Uger. Check them out. We'll see you guys Friday.
I have not done my job since I've gotten here. I can chew and walk gum at the same time.
Gentlemen,